My talk today, I'm going to be talking about mainly a keto carnivore approach. That's sort of what I've discovered works best for me over my past 2 years following a ketogenic diet. Prior to that, I tried everything under the sun, which I'm sure a lot of you have tried as well. I was on a vegan diet. I was, did the standard American diet. I was on our typical kind of Caribbean diet that my mother cooked. So been on a lot of different diets, usually in search of the best body composition, lots of energy, mental focus, things like that. So going to be talking about what's worked best for me. We're going to be covering a bit of energy, a bit about focus, a bit about health. The main thing that I want to cover that I think is the reason a lot of people get into ketogenic diets is body composition, meaning fat loss, muscle gain, not necessarily looking like the Hulk, but just having, lean muscle, dropping that excess fat. And overall, the studies show that that tends to decrease our chances of a lot of the leading causes of death. So it is something to care about. All right, so who am I? My name is William Shewfelt. I am an actor. I do fitness modeling. I do speaking. This is actually the first nutrition conference I've ever spoke at. So this is exciting, and honestly, I wouldn't have it be anywhere else but KetoCon. This definitely feels like home. I've seen a lot of the doctors that I look up to, a lot of the health figures that I look to. So I was nerding out yesterday. I had a lot of fangirling going on. Very excited to meet Dr. Lemansky, to meet a ton of different doctors. So I play the Red Power Ranger on Nickelodeon's Power Rangers Ninja Steel. So I see I have 1.5 fans there. Okay, cool. Very nice. So we are in our 25th anniversary season. Crazy enough, it's been on the air since 1993, which is before I was born. So, 25 seasons of Power Rangers. I am on the current season and the previous season, playing the Red Power Ranger, and the show's doing well. So we were recently nominated for 2 Kids' Choice Awards. One was for Favorite TV Show, and somehow I got nominated for Favorite TV Actor, which that shocked the heck out of me. But that was very exciting, great experience. Didn't win. Anyway, so I studied economics at UC San Diego for 3 years. After realizing that I wasn't intelligent enough, I moved on. Economics was a passion of mine, and it's something I care very much about, and I saw it as a way to... I thought that it was the lead domino that changed a lot of the issues that we face in the world, in terms of poverty, in terms of wealth distribution, in terms of unemployment. So that's what I was interested in. But I started to realize that I wasn't able to connect with people the way that I wanted to through that career. So I had a passion. I honestly wanted to act for a long time, but I thought that was something you did if you had a connection in the industry or if you knew somebody. So eventually I got over that mental hurdle, and I set a goal for myself. It was about to be my senior year of college, and I set a goal for myself. I said, before I graduate in 1 year, I want to book the lead role in a major TV show, so on a major network. Set that goal for myself, and I strongly believe in, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about SMART goals and about chunking your goals and things like that. I love goals. So what I do is I like to set big goals, just break things down. So a yearly goal turns into a monthly goal, turns into a weekly goal, and then you know what you're doing day to day. So in a year, I booked the lead role on Power Rangers, and things have taken off since then. So it's been exciting, but more importantly, it's proved to me that what I learned in weight training, what I learned in athletics about incremental growth and about progress and about who you are today is not necessarily who you are a week from now. You might be stronger, you might be faster. There's constant ebbs and flows. There's growth, hypertrophy, and there's atrophy. So I think that can also play in a lot to our dietary decisions. So if we're talking about weight loss, if we're talking about growing muscle, if we're talking about reversing conditions that we suffer from, there's still that same incremental model that we can use, and use a goal-setting system for that. So I speak at schools, universities. I love to speak to young schools. I love to speak to elementary schools because the kids get all pumped up. And what I'm trying to impart to them as simply as possible is a practical way to follow your dreams. Because, those trite quotes that we hear on the Disney Channel and on, movies and things like that, about following your dreams and going for what you want, they sound very nice, but how do you actually do that? What is the practical application of that? So one thing that I do with elementary students is I'll tell them to find 3 role models and then to find one book about one of their role models and read it. And it's as simple as that. So I think that sets them on the right path. Haven't ever talked to them about keto diets, but that's something I think I might start doing. And I know that it can calm people down, so that might be good for elementary kids. And I've also recently created the Carnivore Shredding Program. So that is basically an ebook that you can find on thecarnivoreshreddingprogram.com. And what I put in there is basically what I found works best for me, nutrition-wise, training-wise, and a lot of different kind of hacks, tricks, tips that I found is able to keep me at a very low level of body fat, high level of muscle mass, relatively high level of muscle mass throughout the year without having to do cutting, bulking, without having to starve myself. So it's just daily practices that you can implement into your life to stay in shape. So as a kid, my mom is a lot of things, but ethnically she is Caribbean, so she's from Guyana, which is a country in the north coast of South America. If people know about Jim Jones and all that kind of stuff, Jonestown, that is Guyana, unfortunately, the current claim to fame. So my mother is Guyanese, and she has an Indian background. She has, a different Caribbean background. So we ate a lot of rice growing up, a lot of potatoes, lots of curries, lots of chicken, beef, things like that. Not a terrible diet. It was a whole foods diet, so at least we were eating whole foods. Definitely heavy in carbohydrates, though. Oh, plantains. I didn't even mention that. Tons of plantains. That's like the staple there. So I was a very active kid, though, and very insulin sensitive. So I didn't have any trouble with that kind of stuff. Constantly doing sports, running around, never had an issue. So it was when I went to high school and I started making my own decisions and not listening to mom and dad that I started to have some issues. Obviously, I was eating my spicy chicken sandwiches and my Chex Mix and my cookies, and I wanted to fit in, and I had terrible skin. The worst skin I've ever seen on a person. I swear, it was every inch of my face covered in acne. I had terrible energy. I had the little pouch at the stomach and all that kind of stuff. So basically, I was kind of screwing my health up through dietary choices. And I realized if I had caused these things on myself because of diet, which seemed to be the only variable to me that was in play here, I thought, well, I could probably reverse them through diet. So that led me on to going vegan. So that was fun. 4 years of misery. Yes, do I have an amen? Yeah, it was rough. So when I went to college, I decided, okay, I'm out of my parents' house. Now I'm actually going to get a job. I'm going to find out what the best diet is, and I'm going to make food for myself. So that way I can control my own health, and I don't have to beg mom to cook me this or cook me that. So I started researching, and like a lot of people at that time, I thought a vegan diet, whole foods, plant-based diet was the way to go. I was on nutritionfacts.org looking at Dr. Michael Greger. I read How Not to Die multiple times. The China study, Healthy at 100, which is actually a great book. Blue Zones, I was looking at that. I was looking at Eat to Live, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, if you can call him that. No, I'm kidding. He's great. He's a doctor. Dr. Esselstyn, Forks Over Knives. I sent that to a number of people. So I was your typical evangelical vegan. Man, within 5 minutes of meeting me, you knew I was vegan. Either from the broccoli in my teeth or from me telling you. So what was I eating? Well, I was eating a lot of leafy greens, cruciferous veggies. I tried to do organic most of the time. Lots of beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, fruits, starchy vegetables. So it was pretty much all of the superfoods that you're supposed to eat. Oh, goji berries, flax seeds, chia seeds, matcha green tea. Oh my gosh, these disgusting smoothies I'd make every day where I'd throw in everything I could find. Maca powder, reishi, what else was in there? Ashwagandha, just a concoction of insanity, turmeric. And I would be drinking those. And so what happened from that? Some good things happened. I think from cutting out a lot of processed foods, a lot of junk, a lot of sugar, also vegetable oils. So a lot of the culprits in the standard American diet, my health improved to an extent. So skin cleared up. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm doing this forever. That was one of the important things to me. I actually leaned out a bit, so there are different ways to lean out, but you can actually lean out on a very low protein diet as well. Just the downside to that is that you'll lose a lot of muscle. But you're mitigating the insulin spikes the same way you would with carbs, but it's just not the healthiest way to go, and you start to experience sarcopenia, body composition is off. So I leaned out, but I also lost muscle, which is the problem. And what were the problems? Besides that, I was hungry all the time. It was really bad. So, we talk about the blood sugar roller coaster and, when your liver glycogen starts to go down. If you're not fat adapted, dang, that sucks. You get hangry, you get annoyed at everybody. It's not really fun at all. So every 2 hours, I had to eat. And if I didn't eat within 2 hours, I had this panicky feeling. I don't know if it was hypoglycemia. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I had to eat every 2 hours. Never felt full. That was also the other thing. So there can be dysregulation with leptin hormones and ghrelin, and suddenly I had no sense of satiety. And I used to think back to when I was a kid, and I would walk away from the table, I didn't want to eat anymore, and I said, where did that go? Literally, I'm not full. I could eat more oatmeal, I can eat more beans, I can eat more vegetables, and I'm never really full. I just get bloated. And that was another thing. You do get gassy from eating all that fiber. Oh, that wasn't fun either. So I was very, very bloated, not full, and not in the best shape. Was not good for mental focus at all either. And when you're in college, you want to be able to focus. You want to be able to study, and I had a lot of trouble with that. So how did I end up keto? This picture was taken the first season of Power Rangers when I was still vegan. This was just about before I was about to try keto. You'll notice the nice little pouch on my belly there. That was some of that bloating I mentioned. So yeah, I did the first season of Power Rangers. That would have been in about 2015 or 2016. And during that first season, I was vegan. So what I did was I was meal prepping. I would make all my own meals. I would bring things in Tupperware. And because I had to eat every 2 hours, I was not a fun guy to work with on set because, in between takes, I'd be having to get my food, I'd be eating, wiping my mouth, going in front of the camera, and action. Wait, you have beans in your mouth. Cut. Let's do this again. Wipe it out. It wasn't good. I couldn't just focus and not eat, and I hated that. So it was very difficult, and if I tried to eat catering food, there's only so much quinoa you can eat. It's not going to give you enough protein. So it was difficult to sustain that lifestyle. I wasn't able to be in the kitchen all the time. So there was that, and then we were also extremely sleep deprived. So we would get picked up 5 to 5:30 a.m. every single day. That was 6 days a week. And we would be on set usually until about 6 p.m. It varied depending on how many scenes you had in the day, but usually until about 6 p.m. So they were long days, and then after that, you go home, learn your lines for the next day, and then show up. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to work out and things like that. So it was pretty rough on the energy levels. And if any of you went to Dr. Lemansky's talk yesterday, he was talking about one night of sleep deprivation can take about 2 nights to get your cortisol levels back to baseline. So 9 months of sleep deprivation, I was screwed up. It was pretty bad. So yeah, more about the pain of veganism. Here was another thing that was pretty bad. So I started getting into binging because I would have to do, the whole caloric deficit. I'm sure we're all familiar. Calories in, calories out. If you want to lose fat, you need to be in a deficit. So I would set my 2,000 or 1,800 calories. I'd be eating that. I'd be tracking all of my macros, trying to get the sufficient amount of protein. And I'd do that for a while. I'd start to get a little bit lean, and suddenly it would just rebound. And that's a typical trait of this sort of dieting. You get a rebound in weight, then you gain all of that back and more. So that was another issue. And the last thing you want to be doing is gaining 10 pounds when you're on TV every day. And the makeup people and the costume people used to tell me about that. They tell me, okay, you look like you're getting heavy now, and now you're starting to get sucked up again. And so it was another issue. And it just wasn't how I expected my big break to go. So becoming ketogenic, maybe not the best example, but I do love Paula Deen. So I started doing my research, and I went down the whole wormhole of YouTube videos, and then looking at books, Gary Taubes, looking at Dr. Kate Shanahan. Man, there's so many I could think of. But just tons of different books on the ketogenic diet, all the YouTube videos, Diet Doctor, million different websites I was visiting, watching everything I could get my hands on. And it was interesting because a lot of them were talking about how the major factor in weight loss is more about insulin. And with low insulin levels, you're actually finally able to start burning body fat. So that was a novel concept to me. I hadn't really thought about that. And beyond that, some of them were talking about you don't actually have to count calories and that a calorie is not necessarily a calorie. Depending on where the calorie comes from, if it's a calorie of glucose or if it's protein or if it is, a fat calorie, those work very differently in the body. So I thought that was really interesting. And I could not wait to stop counting calories. So I came up with this new game plan. I wanted to combine everything all at once. I heard fasting was great. I heard, so basically I wasn't going to count calories. And what I did was I would fast all day. I'd pretty much be chugging coffee the whole time, trying to suppress my appetite. Not a great strategy. And then at night, I would have about 1 or 2 big meals in the evening. And those would usually consist of some sort of leafy green or cruciferous veggie, maybe a bit of semi-low sugar fruit, or just a smaller amount of fruit. And then I would also be eating, a good amount of meat or eggs or fish. And the craziest thing happened. I lost a ton of weight. I lost, my goal was I wanted to get back to like 150, and I had gotten up to 165. And I dropped a bunch of weight pretty quick. So 2 days, I dropped 5 pounds. Now, most of you here probably know that's water weight. You drop the insulin levels, you're excreting sodium, the water's coming out of your body. Wasn't fat loss. But when it continues, then it's fat loss. So it continued. I continued to lose weight. By the end of the week, I lost 10 pounds. Does that sound healthy? Maybe not. But I trained pretty hard. So by the end of that week, I had lost 10 pounds, and I had already gotten to my goal. And I thought, this is crazy. How far can I go with this? Typical obsessive thinking. So I actually had a lot of energy too, which was crazy. So throughout the day, when you're in that fasted state, you notice a lot of mental clarity. You zone in. You're not constantly feeding yourself carbs, so you're not going through this whole thing all day. So I was very zoned in. I was, knocking all my workout. I felt fantastic. And then when I would eat at night, I was full. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm full. I'm actually full. Like, I don't have to finish this whole plate. This is fantastic. So that was probably my favorite part. And my gym performance, that's another thing. So I know we talk about the keto flu. I don't know if I experienced the keto flu, but I never had a lot of like the brain fog and some of the sodium levels and the electrolyte problems. So I don't know. That didn't really happen a whole lot for me, but my strength in the gym went up, which makes sense because I was including a lot more animal protein. So that was great. Oh, my skin was doing well too. Oh my goodness. No, I'm kidding. So I went back to Power Rangers. So we had a 3-week hiatus. We finished our first season. It was 20 episodes of filming. We finished that. We had a 3-week hiatus during Christmas. So I went back home, and that was when I was doing this whole, fast all day, eat my meat and veggies and stuff at night. And when I finally went back to Power Rangers, the makeup people were happy, the costume people were happy. But yeah, they all noticed, oh my gosh, you've lost a lot of weight. And they said, look at this guy, like he starts eating meat and all of a sudden he's ripped. It's the opposite of what you expect to happen. You think a vegan diet is supposed to get you shredded. So that was really good. But over the course of the next few months, I tried everything I could. So I started doing fat fasting. I would try MCT oils. I would try every concoction of bulletproof coffee. I tried a lot of different macros, higher fat, lower protein. Sometimes I'd go down to 60 grams of protein and really high in fat. And then I tried switching those levels. When Jason Whitrock did his 4,000 calories a day challenge, that to me told me, oh, I guess you can eat 4,000 calories a day. Because he lost body fat on that over the 21 days. It didn't work for me. It just didn't seem to work for my body. And I also noticed that nuts don't agree that well with me, and dairy doesn't agree that well with me. So the thing that I experimented with that seemed to really work for me was upping my protein, keeping my fats, honestly, they're pretty high, and then keeping my carbs very, very low. And I found that I can actually get away with completely no carbs, So now we're getting into Sean Baker territory here. Completely no carbs, and I feel fantastic. So what does that look like? High protein, moderate fat? Well, since fat has 9 calories per gram, that's still a lot of fat. So I'm at about, it's honestly probably high fat. I'm at about 150 to 170 grams of protein a day, and then I'll eat about 150 grams of fat. So it's actually equal. It's kind of 1 to 1. So this is still a high-fat diet. It's just higher in protein. So one of the things that a lot of people might be thinking about now is gluconeogenesis. And so is that going to kick me out of ketosis? From the research that I've done, or actually the research that I've read, I'm not a scientist. So from the research I've read, if your liver glycogen is depleted, then you're still going to be metabolizing something in the liver for energy. So you're going to be running off of ketones, and a lot of the glucose that you'll be creating through gluconeogenesis can go towards replenishing your muscle glycogen. And muscle glycogen does not get sucked out of the muscles to go into the liver and to kick you out of ketosis. Now, with that pseudoscience behind me, I would tell you all to never take anyone's advice completely and constantly do your own research. So constantly self-experiment, read from all the doctors, check that stuff out. This is not medical advice. All right, so that was what was working best for my body composition. Now, this was something that I stole from the Messiah himself, Ted Naiman. This is a little chart that shows you highest ad libitum energy intake, lowest ad libitum energy intake, meaning when calories are not controlled, or if you are not trying to actively count calories, what is going to lead you to eat the most? What's going to lead you to eat the least? And they find that what leads you to eat the most is when you actually keep your protein pretty low, you keep your fat at about 40%, and you keep your carbs at about 50%, which looks pretty similar to the vegan diet I was doing. So I was pretty much setting myself up for failure. I was setting myself up for a high ad libitum energy intake. That's why I was starving all the time. That's why I was prone to binging. Now, when I changed those macros around, and there's also more to it too. In terms of meat, there are so many B vitamins in there. There are so many things that the body needs that regulate your satiety hormones and your satiety levels. So it's more than just your macro breakdown. For example, if I did this on a vegan diet, I might not be as satiated as if I was eating meat. So I don't want to say it's all about macros. It's not all about macros. And I'm going to get into food quality and things like that later on. But the lowest ad libitum energy intake actually looks like 50% protein, 40% fat, and 10% carbohydrates. And we have to keep in mind that protein is about 5 grams of, or 5 calories per gram, and then fat would be 9 calories per gram. So that tends to lead to a very low energy intake. Now, when we're talking about low energy intake, we're not talking about fatigue or lethargy or anything like that. Just to clear it up, we're talking about eating less calories overall. So moving along from that, what do I eat every day now? So recently I had an in-body test done, and in-body tests aren't the gold standard. You know, you want a bod pod, you want a DEXA scan if you're trying to find out your body fat levels. But I did this in-body test, and they read me at 3.8% body fat, which I don't know if that's true or not. But from what I've read, you're about 2% within. So I might have been down to 1.8%, I doubt it. Or more likely, I was probably up to about 5%. So what do I do to stay at about 5% body fat year-round? Well, usually I like to do about 1 or 2 meals a day. So I'm a fan of fasting throughout the morning. I like to have my 1 or 2 cups of coffee. I like to train in the fasted state. Another thing that a lot of the speakers here have been talking about in terms of biohacks, body composition, training in the fasted state, fantastic. Depleting muscle glycogen, depleting liver glycogen, being fully in that ketotic state, burning tons of fat throughout the day. And, you know, once you're done with that and those stress hormones are upregulated, and then you eat, and then you're able to have that hypertrophic effect where you're now able to calm your body down and go into the rebuilding process. I think it's an ideal scenario, but I know because of a lot of people's work schedules or lifestyles, not everyone can do that. So a lot of the things I eat, I've found that a carnivorous approach works really well for me. This is something that people haven't done enough studies on this yet in terms of blood work and deficiencies. So we don't yet know if this is the healthiest approach, but it seemed to work well for a lot of people, and ancestrally, it's highly possible. During the Ice Age, you weren't eating a lot of kale. There weren't a lot of fruits on the ground. We can look at the Inuit culture. We can look at a lot of northern cultures that went through highly carnivorous diets. So the typical foods that I eat would usually be something like beef, eggs, chicken, turkey. I'll do bacon occasionally, and then I highly, highly recommend beef liver. So on this sort of carnivorous diet, you do want to make sure you're getting in nutrient density. I personally don't think it's good enough to just be getting Walmart steaks, to just be getting, the cheapest ground beef you can find and the cheapest eggs. I've read that one pasture-raised egg has, I think, the amount of omega-3s that 12 conventionally raised eggs have. So nutrient density matters, and the quality of your food matters. Now, why I bring up beef liver is because beef liver is probably one of the most nutrient-dense superfoods on the planet, if not the most. So beef liver is extremely important. If you can get grass-fed beef liver, your vitamin B levels, fantastic. Vitamin A, it's going to cover so many of those things that just eating typical muscle meat might not. And a lot of the time, I've read that it's good to do it as raw as you possibly can, so you can sear the outside, make sure you're not chewing a bunch of bacteria. And if you can eat it as raw as possible, that tends to be healthiest. I see a lot of skepticism in the audience right now. That's okay. Actually, I told Danny about this disgusting smoothie I used to make. It's not worth it. Yeah, don't try it, man. It's not worth it. I used to put raw pasture-raised eggs in there, raw beef liver, and collagen protein powder, blend it up and drink it. The things we do for a six-pack. All right. Okay, so the way I approach fats is I consume whole food fats. So I don't add fats to my meals anymore. There isn't like a thing of butter on top of my steak. I'll eat the fat that's already in the steak. If I want more fat, I might eat more eggs. I might eat more bacon. I used to do the thing where I would have like a whole chunk of Kerrygold next to my food, and it would scoop the Kerrygold, scoop the beef. Don't do that anymore. It just doesn't seem to work for me, and I do end up holding on to a little bit of body fat. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, for me, what works best is higher protein, kind of moderating the fat levels, not going too hard on those, and then keeping the carbs very low. So, supplementation and quality. Some good old MySpace pictures here. So supplementation, the few supplements I take, we have to keep in mind that eating meat is extremely nutrient dense, so you are covering a lot of your nutrition right off the bat. But the supplements I take, cod liver oil, because I don't always get in enough fish. So cod liver oil, great vitamin A, vitamin D3 levels, and obviously fantastic omega-3. I also supplement magnesium. So I'm not eating a lot of avocados, I'm not eating a lot of vegetables. And from what I've heard from the great Maria Emmerich, who I think is fantastic, we used to get our magnesium through our water supply. So, drinking river water, drinking, freshwater sources, we would get a lot of magnesium and minerals from that. Nowadays, that just doesn't seem to happen unless you're constantly drinking spring water or you're somehow fortifying the water. So I take it's the Calm magnesium supplement, and it has like a complex of calcium and potassium, boron, magnesium, a couple different things. Just put that in your water. I take that at night, and magnesium calms you down. It relaxes the body, and that helps with sleep quality. And then it's not necessarily a supplement, but I try to make sure every week I'm doing some grass-fed beef liver, maybe once a week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And there are also fantastic supplements you can take. Desiccated beef liver. So you can find this from a lot of different companies. Not sponsored by any of these people, but the kind of companies I look to. Animal is one company. Ancestral Supplements is another company. I think you can get it from Now Foods. They also sell a desiccated beef liver supplement. And you don't want to get the defatted one because we want fat to increase the absorption of the nutrients. So try to get one that's not defatted. Bone broth. Yeah, collagen. Great stuff, fantastic electrolytes. We all know about bone broth. So I try to get that in a few times a week as well. I like Epic bone broth. I like, what's that one company? Quality bone broth. That's the one. Kettle and Fire, yeah. I like their bone broth as well. Now, I've put all of the information that are in these slides, as well as specifically what I do in the gym in terms of training, cardio, what my fasting protocol looks like, etc. in the Carnivore Shredding program. I have like a top 5 tips to lose fat and to build muscle. But since y'all are here, I'll just tell you. So a few of the things that I would optimize, number 1 would be sleep. Sleep is so important, and you want to be getting quality sleep when you're training, when you're fasting. Fasting is a stressful thing for the body to do. Your cortisol is going up. When you're burning that much fat, that's a stressful thing for the body to do. It might think that you're in, well, ancestrally, that's a famine state. You don't have any food. So, and then you're training hard, and then let's say you're in a hypocaloric state, so you're not eating that much if you're eating 1 or 2 meals a day, you could start to stress your body out. That can take a toll on your thyroid, and you might start to experience symptoms of hypothyroid, etc. So you want to be eating enough, but you also want to be sleeping enough. And sleep deprivation is not something I think you can get away with on this sort of diet with this approach. And you will pay for it. That sounds like a threat. I mean, your body will experience the negative effects. So another thing that I like to look at is cold exposure. I don't necessarily do a ton of cryotherapy or a bunch of ice baths, but I like to take cold showers. Now, the reason we do that is it activates brown fat. So brown fat is a different type of fat than your typical white fat that you use for energy, and it's activated by cold exposure. So if you've heard of Wim Hof, or if you've looked into cold exposure, cold showers are another great way to optimize your fat burning, and they might take off that last little, I don't know, however many pounds of fat. So that helps out as well. I would definitely recommend, coffee, green tea during the fast, things like that. And in terms of food quality, try to do grass-fed as much as you can. Try to do wild-caught as much as you can. You really want to be giving your body the top nutrients possible. Now, there is a problem with affordability. Yes, those things do cost more. But there's sort of a cost benefit to that, Sometimes when I talk to my dad, he'll tell me he doesn't have time for that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you won't have time when you're dead. So make the time, live longer, take care of yourself while you can. I think Warren Buffett says the most important investment you can make is in yourself. The guy reads 3 to 5 hours a day. Now here we're talking about nutrition, but it's the same principle. It's the same concept. So I say, just feed yourself the top things so you don't have to take medications, so you don't have to, have to supplement a bunch of things. Like Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. So that is what's in the Carnivore Shredding program. My Instagram is @WilliamShewfelt, where you can see a lot of those obnoxious shirtless pictures. And I sometimes drop some training tips, things like that, some more informational content, little behind the scenes stuff in the acting world. My YouTube is @WillShewfelt. My YouTube is a lot more nutrition and training focused than my Instagram is. So if you're really into that, into the whole nutritional side of things, into keto, getting that body composition, definitely check out my YouTube. So that would be youtube.com/WillShewfelt. And like I said before, it's thecarnivoreshreddingprogram.com. So, well, that's that. All right, I wanted to take, how much time do we have?
10.
About 10 minutes? Okay, cool. I want to take as many questions as I can in 10 minutes. So, shoot. Yes. We're going to bring the mic over to you so we can get this on tape for the judge. All right.
So you said you eat after you work out.
Yes.
Okay, because I wake up super early, I work out super early, but then I don't eat until like 4 p.m. So I should change it a little bit and have breakfast and maybe breakfast and lunch, because I just eat twice or once sometimes.
There's a lot to be said for listening to your body, and I do the same thing a lot of the time. So sometimes I'll be getting up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., I'll train, and then if you do that and you try to eat at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or even worse, 8 p.m., that's rough. Like, I've tried that many times, doesn't work for me. So what I would recommend in that case is to just do 2 meals a day. So to eat a big meal after you train and then eat another one maybe at 5 p.m. That's usually what I found works for me. And I'll try to vary the foods. So after I train, I try to get in my most nutrient-dense meal of the day. So Yeah, the
at
liver,
that
for
time.
example. Yeah, exactly. So if you can stomach it at 6 in the morning, I'll try to get in the liver. I'll try to get in a lot of the eggs because, you know, the yolk is fantastic. I'll get in fish if I have any fish going on that week, bone broth, things like that. I'll really pack in the nutrient density in the morning, and I find that that has a strong effect on your hunger levels throughout the day. Because what hunger really is, besides simply a need for calories and energy, which a lot of us have from our body fat. We have a lot of energy already, but our body is screaming for nutrition. So if we can really pack in that nutrition, we might end up eating less over the course of the day simply because we've satiated that need. So I would say do 2 meals a day. Yeah, don't push it too hard. It can really start to mess with your cortisol levels. You can get stressed, then you get water retention, and then you think you're not losing weight. So yeah, definitely. Yes.
So what is your fasting, what's your window, or do you vary it?
I vary it, yeah. The typical guideline I like to follow, if everything, the stars align, is I like to eat at about 5, 6 p.m. and just fast throughout the day. If I'm training really hard that day, or if I'm on set, or if I have a lot of stuff going on with my schedule and I have to get up early, traveling, I'll just eat when hungry. I'll listen to my body, and the one rule I'll try to follow is just train fasted. So before I eat, I can feel myself starting to get a little angsty. I'll say, okay, just go for a run, go train, go do some calisthenics, do whatever you got to do. Just train fasted, fully get the liver glycogen out, you know, get the muscle glycogen going, and then I'll eat my meal. So I'm not the strictest with that. I don't have a set daily, I eat at this time and I eat at this time, because I don't actually have a set daily schedule. It just changes a lot depending on what's going on. So I would recommend in that case, listen to your body, eat when hungry, but if you can stick to a set schedule, the body responds very well to that. That applies to sleeping as well. So if you can sleep at the same time every day, wake up at the same time every day, if you could eat at the same times every day, that is fantastic for circadian rhythm. It's fantastic for hormonal levels. So that's the optimal, but I know we live a lot of crazy lives nowadays, so it doesn't always happen. So the least you can do is just eat as healthy as possible, sleep as much as you can. Yeah.
Can I just add one more question?
Yes.
Can you speak to starting weight training for people who really haven't done that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many different places to start, so I guess I'll categorize it according to goals, perhaps according to body types. So if you want more of a lean aesthetic physique that perhaps has a little bit less muscle mass, heavy weight training, I wouldn't put that as the lead domino. There are so many health benefits to a heavy weight training, especially the compound lifts like squats, bench press, overhead press, things like that. Fantastic for your bones as well, which as you grow older, you want to look into that. Osteogenesis, you want to keep your bones healthy, keep structural alignment. So there's a lot to be said for that. But nowadays, my training looks a lot more like calisthenics, lots of push-ups, pull-ups, handstand push-ups, bridges for my back, thoracic extension in the back, which keeps your posture great. So, man, there's so many different places to start. But I guess a very simple overview, I would say you could get in the gym and you could start with body weight exercises first. So get the initial soreness out of the way. You can do different types of assisted pull-ups. You can do push-ups where you have maybe both knees on the ground. Maybe you can do negatives where you slowly bring yourself down. You get back up, slowly bring yourself down. Let's see what else. So that's push, pull. You know, you can do squats. So body weight squats, jump squats if you want to make it more intense. So instead of just squatting down, you add a jump at the top of the movement. Body weight lunges across the gym. So many different body weight exercises. So once you get acclimated to body weight training and you're not getting so much of that soreness in the muscles, then I would say add on top of that and start going into more of put a bar on your back, start squatting a little bit. Fantastic for the body. Squat's one of the best exercises. There's a whole cascade of hormones that get released when you're squatting, and it's a full body exercise. Fantastic for your lower back. A lot of people think it's not good for your knees, but if you're doing it correctly, it can be great for your knees. You want to strengthen these things rather than avoid exercising them. Some people avoid these movements, like a deadlift, for example, because they think you're going to mess your back up. You'll mess your back up if you haven't trained the movement, if you don't know the form, and if you're going too heavy too soon. So learn the form, get the form down, and then I say there's nothing better than deadlifting, squatting, these very natural ancestral movements that we would have done back in the day. Well, at least that's what Mark Sisson says. I'm trying to think when in nature you would have constantly been doing this, but who knows. So doing that, overhead pressing, fantastic for the shoulders, triceps. So yeah, lots of those. I would start to incorporate that, and then I also like some cardiovascular training. So I like to like zone 2 cardio, which is a lot of people stay away from the whole low intensity, steady state stuff. They think you're wasting time. Personally, I love it. I feel fantastic when I do it. So I like to do some running. I like to do some bicycling. I like to do jumping rope. Yeah, stair climber. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the stair climber. So yeah, that's kind of what I would recommend as far as that goes. So starting easy, body weight, and then learning the form with the weight training exercises, and then slowly increasing weight, paying attention to your body, not overtraining, and I like higher frequency. I like to train every day because I think if you eat every day, if you breathe every day, if you sleep every day, you might as well use your body every day. Yes. Who's up? Yes.
Hi, great presentation.
Thank you.
I went carnivore from keto for about 6 months, and I noticed like my sleep, the quality improved, but the number of hours I needed decreased. Did that happen to you, or am I just kind of weird?
If the quality improved, I would say the first thing to look at is how do you feel? And
I
if you
felt great. Like I went from getting like 7 hours of sleep, or needing 7 hours of sleep, to like maybe 4 or 5. Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Very productive.
I don't want to give any medical advice, but I'm going to say if you feel great, that's a good sign. So you're at least getting 1 solid REM cycle a night. You can aim for more. You know, if you want to maybe supplement some magnesium at night, maybe if you want to try ashwagandha, which might calm down any cortisol, let you get to sleep faster, you might have a deeper quality of sleep. I wouldn't mess with melatonin. It kind of screws up your body's hormonal levels. So you could maybe aim for a bit more sleep, but my rule of thumb is if you feel good, then you're probably okay. Yeah, so I don't want to give too much advice on that, but I did notice that I didn't need as much sleep, but I tell myself that a lot. And now that I've heard Dr. Lemansky, I think I want to pay more attention to sleep, so it's very important, yeah. Okay, yes.
Could you morph into the Red Ranger for us?
It's morphin' time! No, I'm not going to do that. Can we do right here?
So you mentioned your routine changes often, but you
Yes.
like to work out more fasted. So I'm
Yes.
assuming your one constant is working out in the morning-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And if so, what if you have an evening workout and you do need to eat prior? What do you kind of work around that workout, or do you skip your workout for the day? Like how
Yeah.
that fasted workout and
Yeah, how do those variables change?
I'm a morning workout person, but every once in a while when you do have an evening one, what would you do before and after? Or
Yeah, so I preface this is just what works for my goals. Everyone has their own goals. What's worked best for me is I love to do my morning workouts. I like to block off that time for myself in the morning. It really grounds me, it anchors me, it prepares me for the day, and I feel better throughout the day. So yeah, do that, fasted, eat later in the day. Now, if it's a crazy early call time, I'm not going to be getting up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'm not The Rock. I can't do that stuff. So what I'll do is I would train later in the day, which would mean for me I would have one meal before training and then hopefully one meal after training. And the only thing I would try to do with that is maybe go lighter before training. So I might not eat a ton of steak. I might not eat some of the heavier foods. I might do maybe just some eggs, some fish, something like that. Just keep it lighter on the stomach, especially if I'm doing cardio. I don't want to vomit. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So I'll just go lighter with the food. Maybe I'll drink some bone broth as well. That'll keep my appetite regulated. I'll be getting some protein in my body. And then I'll go train, and then after that I'll have another meal. So that's, yeah, sometimes you can put your training in the middle of those 2 meals. And there are some benefits to that as well. Because let's say, for example, if you're eating carbohydrates, they always say the best time to time your carbohydrates is before a meal or before a workout or after a workout, because that's when you're going to get that insulin sensitivity. You'll be either using it in the workout or you'll be replenishing muscle glycogen after the workout. So I think the same kind of principle applies for food. If you can get your meals around your workouts, then the food is going to be utilized in the best way possible. That's just my theory on that. One more question? Okay, cool. Do we want to do up here? Oh, okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to have you go over what you did with the magnesium and what you did at night. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't quite catch that because I do supplement with magnesium, but, you know, usually it's in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as you're getting it in. But magnesium has been found to be very helpful for sleep quality. So what I do is, as part of sort of a nighttime routine, you know, we can include getting rid of blue lights. If you want to wear those funny orange glasses, you can do that as well. But getting rid of some of the blue lights, getting the devices away, and then I'll go for my magnesium. And I'll usually take, I think with the supplement, it's about 1 teaspoon, 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of that Calm magnesium supplement. I don't want to give a recommendation on dosage. That is dependent on who you are. I think I probably take it's around like 500 milligrams of magnesium. So I'll take that before I sleep, and it just calms the body down.
I've tried the Calm, and it doesn't work well when I try to run in the morning.
That would make sense. Maybe you're a bit too relaxed as you went into the workout. That would make sense. You can also get magnesium from, I believe, cacao. Dark chocolate has a good amount of magnesium. Lots of leafy greens. What was that? Oh. Thought Dean was offering advice there. Yeah, so you can get it from a lot of different food sources as well. It's just for me, I don't tend to eat a lot of plant foods, which I'm still looking into. So I take that magnesium supplement. Yeah. Is that about it on time? Okay, so I think there's like a speakers area somewhere downstairs or something. Is there? Okay, so I might go hang out there. If anybody wants to ask any more questions, I want to try to answer as many questions as possible. We only had 10 minutes. I'm sorry about that. But thank you guys all for coming out today. I appreciate it.